Hi guys, welcome to video 3 of our 3-video mini-series. Today we are going to be talking more about postseason and what that looks like for collegiate soccer players. So this season is really about de-stressing and focusing on recovery, but there are plenty of players and coaches that don't like thinking about that or don't like being told to stop or reduce training. So during this time, it's also great to start to increase your techniques, your mechanics of lifting, and also running. So usually what you'll see is collegiate soccer players starting to increase their lift frequencies, starting by lifting 3 to 4 times a week. They really want to focus on being a better athlete and not just a better player. So this includes focusing on weakness areas of the body, and now that you have more time to introduce new lifts, you'll also have more time to focus on those efficiencies, those techniques. So something that might be an example of this would be increasing the unilateral, bilateral, and tempo work. An example of this may be a training program that would include strength, hypertrophy, and then also strength endurance and the strength and power. Alright, so I wanted to do a little bit of basics on how to do a proper pull-up. A lot of players might not think it's that beneficial because it focuses more on the upper part of the body rather than the lower, but it's actually very important to keep the upper body fully strengthened as well as the lower body. Working on your upper extremities are going to be more important for improvement of speed and power output, and then it's also going to be good for your posture and reducing injury, as well as improving your body composition. So for a pull-up, today I am just using a plastic bar because of COVID. Gyms aren't really accessible at the moment, so this is going to be great for just talking points. I'll show you a couple different things. Some key points are focusing on your shoulders, because if you are doing the pull-up wrong, they're going to be affected. And also another point is having a strong core. So if you're not already doing it, make sure that you're doing your full ab workouts. Make sure you have that strong core. It is there for that stability and that stillness that you do when you're in that hanging position. So even some hanging exercises are great for the core if you want to start out that way. That would be very beneficial to starting off the pull-ups, and as well as pulling exercises. So something like the deadlift. Shoulder exercises are great for scapular strength because there is a lot of rotation that's going on in your shoulders as well. So there's different ways that you can grab the bar. Obviously, you're probably familiar with like a narrow grip, something that is more of shoulder width, and then obviously, I can't really get it in the screen, but like a wider grip. Each way that you grab the bar is going to affect the way that you're going to do your pull-up.
For example, wide grip variation of a pull-up targets the lats and biceps as the primary muscles. It also utilizes the traps, triceps, flexors of the arm, and the teres minor, and isolates the muscles of your back to complete the movement. Neutral grip pull-ups also utilize the lats and the biceps, but the turnover to the biceps becoming the primary movers is earlier in the movement. This is oftentimes easier for people who haven't been practicing pull-ups very often. Close grip pull-ups have the added benefit of utilizing the pec muscles. A lot of people like to incorporate close grip if they're going for hypertrophy, which increases the muscle size, versus strength throughout range of motion. Like Katie mentioned earlier, you can train also using bilateral versus unilateral movements. So unilateral is something that you're going to do with just one side, versus bilateral is something that utilizes both sides of the body. So for example, a barbell back squat uses both legs, a bench press with a barbell uses both arms, versus something like a single leg or rear foot elevated split squat uses just one as the primary mover. A dumbbell bench press uses just one arm to bench that weight. So up next, we'll show a couple different examples of different unilateral movements that you can do. They could also be turned into bilateral if that's part of your training plan, but this just helps to really focus on single side strength, balance, coordination, different things like that. So here we have a demonstration of a single arm dumbbell curl to press. And while this could be a movement that you might do separately as two different movements, a curl and a press with a barbell, The nice part about using a dumbbell is you have the freedom of range of motion in the arm and in the joints of the arm to be able to do the curl to press, which is a much more complex movement and utilizes more muscles for maintaining that balance and that coordination as your arm moves through the range of motion. Another movement with unilateral benefits is the shoulder raise. So you could do a shoulder raise with a barbell or an easy curl bar, but a big advantage to using a dumbbell is that you can put your shoulder through more degrees of range of motion. This means your shoulder is going to work more to stabilize in positions that it might not be used to, or positions that it might get thrown into in situations that only happen in sports or in certain daily living situations, etc. Another thing it's useful to work on during the off season is your form and your mechanics for both lifts and for running. So for lifts, that's just going through different technique points, different cues with your coach or with a friend, a teammate, somebody that knows what they should be telling you to look for in your lifts, and just really nailing down that technique so that when you start to add weight and when you're in season, it's more muscle memory, and you don't have to think about, am I doing X, Y, and Z parts of this lift correctly? You can just focus on gaining that strength. You can also work on improving your running form, and that goes from your toes, so how much ankle flexion you use, where you're striking on your foot when you hit the ground, to how high your knee's coming up, your ankle and your hip and your knee flexion, all of those joints, what you're doing with your arms, stuff like that, your turnover rate for your stride. So using a coach can be really helpful for these as well, but there are some drills that you can do just on your own to kind of make those things become more muscle memory.